Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, January 13th, 2016 episode of Free Webinar Wednesdays. This is Eric Cook, and I'm with WSI Internet Consulting, where we work with businesses and organizations, helping them better understand and leverage the power of the Internet as a strategic business tool. You can learn more about me and WSI online at www.poweredbywsi.com. With me this week, for the first show of the year, back in the saddle again, my good friend and Free Webinar Wednesday partner, Mr. Jeff Simpkins. Jeff, say hello to everybody out there in the Free Webinar Wednesday world.
Greetings, everybody. This is Jeff Simpkins. I'm with Community Bank Consulting, Inc. And you can learn more about me and our services at Community Bank Consulting online at www.communitybankconsulting.com.
Sweet.
So, Eric, did I see on Facebook a picture of you in snow within the last few days?
Yes, it has finally snowed up here just in time because Saturday we're leaving and heading south. So we are not going to be able to enjoy much of it, but it did arrive. I thought you were going to ask me if I got a new addition to my bicycle stable, which the answer would have been
I saw that too
as well. Yeah, so I picked up one of the new fat bikes. Jokingly, I say I bought it because if now I'm riding on the bike trail and somebody goes, "Hey, fatty, get out of the way," I'll just assume that they're talking about the fact that I'm riding a fat bike and not the fact that they think that I could stand to lose a few pounds. But yeah, it's been like pedaling an SUV. Just rolls right over pretty much anything that you want, and I don't know as I'll get much time before I take off to go out and play in the snow. But I've got lots of buddies on the cycling team that are riding these fat bikes now, and it's been a tremendous amount of fun, kind of extending the whole cycling season year round, which has been really cool. So it's been pretty sweet. But yes, the white stuff has arrived. I'm suspecting you're probably not chilling out on your deck in shorts and a short sleeve T-shirt, but I doubt you see any of the snow yourself. Would that be a correct assumption?
No, that would be correct. I'm sitting here in my office looking out the window down the street, and it is the beautiful winter Carolina blue sky. Now, it's rather cold. It's dipped into the 20s at night, but I actually did go to Florida for Christmas, although I could have been out on the deck in shorts here. It was, I think, in the 70s here in North Carolina, in Charlotte, on Christmas, and I believe we hit 85 in Florida. So you had said you might. You had said you might get in the lake. Oh, you had said you might get in the lake over Christmas or New Year's. Did that happen?
Well, unfortunately, we went up to the cabin over New Year's, and the lake had actually frozen, so there was no possibility of that. Although we did pop over to Traverse City, which for those of you that aren't familiar with Michigan, it's over on the west side, and the Traverse City Bay had not frozen over yet, so there were still waves and open water, and that connects right to Lake Michigan. So I don't know as if that's frozen over yet. So if I had my paddleboard with me when we went to Traverse City, I probably could have, but you know, then you run the risk of falling in, and then you pretty much got about maybe 5 minutes to get out or you're dead. So I figured it probably wasn't something I wanted to push on a New Year's Eve. So I took the safe way out, and we just had dinner with friends, and I ate lots of barbecue. So I figured that was a good compromise.
Well, if you happen to swing by my house on your way south and want to get in the lake and have the wetsuit and the paddleboard, my lake is not frozen, and I don't think you'd freeze to death in 5 minutes if you fell in.
Yeah, I just have, it just would be a little cold. I'd have goosebumps for sure. So, yeah, I'll mention that to Alicia. We'll see what we can do. So, cool. Well, this is, I guess, officially Happy New Year to you and everybody else. We were going to have our show to kick things off last week, but I had a client that really wanted to get things rolling before I took off and headed south, which required me to do a little bit of driving, and I was on the road at the time that we were regularly going to have our show. So apologize to everybody that was expecting to have our show last week, but we canceled, but we're back. And over the last several years, Jeff and I have started each new year with kind of a sharing of some of the things that we have on our resolutions. I know I posted in the email reminder, I posted up to Facebook. If anybody that's in the audience would like to share some of their resolutions of what they're hoping to accomplish for the new year. I know I'm always looking for ideas and suggestions. But I've taken some time and pulled up some websites and some links of some of the services and things to kind of jog my memory, just to talk about a little bit of business, a little bit of charity, a little bit of physical fitness, trying to kind of compete kind of the rounded persona or rounded strategy, I guess. So I'm going to walk through some of those and just kind of share, and Jeff, feel free to interject with comments or thoughts or anything that might be kind of burning a hole in your mind that you think might be something that you'd also be interested in sticking on your resolution list. Just as a quick reminder, I guess we probably should do a little housekeeping things, a little rusty since we haven't had a show since 2015, but today's show and all shows are recorded, will be made available at prewebinarwednesdays.com, and certainly we'd love to have your feedback and let us know what your resolutions are by using the chat function, and we'll maybe not mention your name to protect the anonymity if you've got a really out there resolution that you want to share, but we'd be curious to hear, for those of you that are listening live, maybe what's on your list. So as the show progresses and something hits your mind, go ahead and post it in there. So work stuff. You know, to kind of continue, and you and I talked a little bit about this on the quote-unquote pre-show. I'm doing air quotes with my fingers, and if I had my webcam on, you could see that. But when we talked on the pre-show, last year we had a little bit of a discussion about Apple, and they kind of dropped the ball a little bit on one of the service things that they did for me and my computer, and then really stepped up to the plate and wowed me by essentially giving me a brand new computer for one that I bought in 2011 as a way to make up for all the mistakes that they had done and some of the poor service that my wife had received. And I think she's over it now, although now she's bragging because, you know, she claims that she's the one that's responsible for getting me this awesome computer, which I really can't argue about. And so with my newfound affinity towards the Apple brand, I'm still an Android phone user, but my wife does the books for the business, and we've got QuickBooks, and our accountant is on QuickBooks, and so we've always stayed very much PC-based for her, and her computer's, you know, kind of getting a little slow in the tooth, and about 3.5 years old. Made the decision at the prodding of our godson, who's now working for us and is very technically astute, to go ahead and pull the trigger on a MacBook Air. And we installed Parallels, which is a little software program that allows you to run Windows on a MacBook, and installed the PC version of QuickBooks 2016 to get us ready for the upcoming year. And with the exception of a couple of things that she'll end up doing in a Mac, it's going to give her the PC capability that our accountant's going to expect and that she's familiar with. But I figured from a support and a service perspective, Apple really earned this, in my opinion, by stepping up to the plate. And if there's a problem down the road, I'm 100% confident that they're going to be there to take care of things. So I'm really excited. My wife doesn't know that she's getting a MacBook, so if any of you know her, don't tell her that we're talking about this on today's show. But she's going to be getting a MacBook Air, and lightweight, easy to use, and I'm excited. I sent my email to my Apple guy over in Ann Arbor that coordinated everything, but I'm going to let him know what we've done as a result of his input, and hopefully that gets shared with the supervisors. And I guess that kind of ties into one of the resolutions for 2016 is, you know, to recognize people that are taking good care of you, and to make sure to take the time to let them know you appreciate it, and so to give a little bit of communication back. So, so stay tuned. I might be calling you next week with a a foot in my backside and MacBook Pro going back to the store, but with any luck, we'll be able to report that my wife is enjoying her new computer and everything's working good, and we've got another Apple in the family. So,
I don't anticipate you having any challenges after she uses it for a day or so.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. So, plus you've got the additional benefit of greater resistance to things like malware and viruses and other stuff. And so we'll keep our fingers crossed, and we'll break her in gently. We'll see. So that little kind of mini work story leads me into a few work things. And I alluded to the fact that we have somebody now new in our business. Our godson, Mark, has graduated from Illinois Institute of Technology as of December of last year, and he's been working off and on with us for about 6 years since he's been going to school, and he's a great kid. I had the opportunity to meet him back when he was still in high school / even middle school. And so he's been a big help and has come on board full time. So one of the things that we've now decided to do a little bit more internal within the company, now that I have somebody else to collaborate with in addition to the other folks within the WSI network, is we're using some internal project management work. And some of you may be familiar with services like Basecamp and Wrike and others. Well, one of the things, we've been using this off and on, but it's a company called Asana. And the cool part about it is if you want to use a project management platform for your business, maybe you don't necessarily need to open it up to your customers. Right now, we're just using this internally, so it's just between Mark and myself to keep us organized, and we see everything, so there's really no restrictions, and that's okay for us. But if your business is looking for a way, or even if you want to use it within the family to try to keep things organized, but as long as you're okay with everybody participating and seeing everything, you can use Asana for free and have as many users within the same domain as you want. And so this is a great way to try to keep things organized, and you can go through, you've got dashboard capability, you can create tasks, you can assign dates, you can create tags to organize stuff. It's been a really great way for us to keep organized and keep things on track. And organization is, one of the things that's big on my list for 2016, particularly now that I've got somebody else within the organization that I need to keep rolling, and it's not just me anymore. So this is a great little service that I wanted to make sure that I shared with everybody. It's got a pretty awesome little mobile app that works great on your phone. It's Android and iOS, so it works on your Google phones and your Apples. But this is a cool little program that if you're looking for a way to get better organized and collaborate more internally, this is one that I would strongly suggest you check out. As a part of that, what we've also done to get a better handle on things and to see really where, Mark's spending his time and I'm spending my time, and even within your own organization from a business perspective where your employees are spending their time, there's a cool little add-on that Mark found called TimeCamp. And so you can go in and install TimeCamp, and it'll integrate right directly with the Asana app, or you can go ahead and just use it directly at timecamp.com. But you can go through here, and as you're working on different projects, you can go in and you can actually turn the timer on, and the timer sits in the background, tracks how long you're doing it, and then you can go ahead and turn the timer off. It'll automatically associate with whatever project you're using within the Asana platform. So maybe you're getting ready to do a big product launch, or you're opening a new branch office, or something along those lines. You can create a project within Asana to define that, and then you can track everybody's time on what they're doing and what they're involved with. And of course, we're going to use this internally to take a look at our support agreements and our terms, and making sure, because we allow a certain amount of time for all of our customers from a support perspective. And so the customers that have got excess support at the end of the month, maybe see if there's anything else that they need assistance with, customers that we're spending more time with. We now have got some good documentation to show that, you know, we're doing more, and that might end up generating some additional revenue for us. But I've not been a real avid tracker of my personal activity, and I think this is one of the ones that's going to be a good reveal, just to see, you know, I think we all think we know how long it takes to do something, but when you start putting it in black and white, I think it's going to be a little bit of an eye-opening experience. So you can see some of the different platforms that integrate with it. You know, we talked about Basecamp earlier, pretty familiar with that. I think we've talked about Insightly before on Free Webinar Wednesdays as a pretty cool little plug-in, and we've actually played around internally with Trello and Podio, or Podio. I don't know exactly what the appropriate pronunciation of it is, but it's got some really nice integrations with Asana, and we're really excited to be using that.
So I'm going to use this one.
Yes, sir.
I said I'm going to use this one. I actually, one of the things that we've started doing in our client agreements is we've started tracking time. Sort of like you,
Yep.
Our preference has always been not to have to do that, but we've just reached a point that we realize we've got to get our arms around how much we're spending on each of our projects. So this is awesome. I've looked at some other solutions, and I like what I see on this one, and we actually use Insightly as our CRM. So.
Yep. So Mark's, before I dive into it and start using it, Mark's actually, I think he's been beta testing this for a couple of weeks now, just to make sure he's familiar with the interface and putting some projects, picking a couple of jobs that we're working on and really analyzing it. And, you know, we may not get 40 hours out of 40 hours tracked directly into the system, because there's always going to be little things that will crop up that you're not going to necessarily need to log. But if we can get about 80% or so of our work in here, so that we can get an idea of kind of getting a good perspective on what we're spending our time on, working smarter, not harder, as you will, I think that's going to be a real good thing for our business, and kind of position us and show us kind of some areas where we might be, you know, either leaving money on the table, or there may be opportunities for enhanced services. So yeah, I'm glad that this kind of tickled your fancy, if you will, and you'll have to let us know what you think of it when you get in there. So maybe we'll schedule a joint call or something and get Mark on, and he can kind of do a walkthrough and show you some stuff. But they've got a demo video that's pretty good. And again, you can, right now we're using the free version, and it seems to work just fine. So all about free, that's for sure. So one of the services that started using as free and then migrated into the paid version, and we've actually had somebody from Contactually on at least once, maybe even twice in the past. I know you're using Insightly, but I've got on my 2016 also to spend more time back into my Contactually system. And this is a service, if you're not familiar with it, both Jeff and I are Google for Work customers, so we've got the whole Google Enterprise. It integrates with the Google platform, Calendar, Gmail, etc. And what I want to do with Contactually is do a better job of utilizing their bucket technology, which is essentially kind of taking different collections of contacts and putting them into buckets and scheduling reminders, and kind of leveraging, now that I've got someone in the office to be doing, I don't want to say busy work, because that's not really the right way of saying it, but some of the day-to-day things to keep the processes rolling. That's really where Mark, I think, is going to shine. And then I think Contactually, from a bigger picture business organization perspective, is going to kind of make sure that I've got my eyes on the targets of where potential opportunities might be, clients that we haven't talked to in a while. It integrates with all of your different services like email and social media. So at a very high level, let's say Jeff is a really good customer of mine and we haven't communicated in several months. Contactually, you can set to say, hey, for all of my customers, I want to interact with them at least once every 30 days, whether that's an email message, whether that's an exchange on Twitter, whether that's some sort of a communication on Facebook or LinkedIn. And if Jeff and I haven't talked at all in the last 30 days, contactually we'll say, hey, you know, Jeff's a really good customer and you haven't really touched base with him in 30 days. You might want to just pop in to see how he's doing. And there's some other really neat mail merge features and kind of mass messaging capabilities that can be set based off of triggers or other sorts of like news articles or other things that you may have that you'd like to share. So you're not just bouncing a note and saying, hi, Jeff, how are you? Can I sell you anything new? But finding things that would actually be of value to your customers, but easily be able to push them out to say, you know, hey, Facebook just made some updates to its advertising platform and I thought you'd be interested, check out this article. And so you're doing a little bit more of a drip methodology to try to keep in touch. It is a paid service. I think it's maybe a couple $100 a year, if I'm not mistaken. Ziv.
And the amount of email communication that you originate through it. I actually continue to use Contactually because we have a product that we partner with a company called HT Mobile Apps. It's a financial literacy product for kids aged 2 to 12 years old, and we market that product in the Southeast United States. There are some features in Contactually that work better for doing drip type campaigns that unlike what you can do with Constant Contact. I feel pretty strongly that to put someone in Constant Contact, they really should opt in. Legally, you know, I think you could add them to Constant Contact if they were an existing customer or things like that. I don't use Constant Contact for just sending out bulk emails. With Contactually, as you mentioned, some of the features that are available there is it will remind you to touch base with prospects or clients periodically. And I've just found that it works really, really well when I've got something that I want to let a large group of people know within my territory about something that's coming up. Depending on how many emails you need to send at one time, it's $59 a month, I think, if you pay monthly for up to 300 emails a day. And then there's a little bit larger package that I think is somewhere around $100 a month, depending on the number of emails that you send. And you can, using what they call Scale Mail that you've got on your screen right now, Scale Mail is sort of a quasi-personalized way to generate email communication. What you can do is select a group of people based on tags, based on buckets, based on certain search criteria, select them to go in that Scale Mail bucket, and then you choose a template that you want to use to generate the base email, and then you're presented with the whole list, and you can actually go in and customize each of the emails. So there's some really strong features in Contactually. And our friend Jim is asking us to compare Contactually to HighRise. I don't know HighRise. Do you, Eric?
Yeah, HighRise is if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, HighRise is a platform that integrates with Basecamp, which is one of the project management platforms. And so that ties in a little bit more from project management and CRM by tying those two things together. I've not really had an opportunity to play with it. We use Basecamp actually through one of the production center partners in WSI and run a lot of project work through that, but they do not have a HighRise membership, so I don't know exactly how that works. But one of the things that I think is kind of cool about HighRise, if Basecamp is indeed your platform of preference, is it takes your CRM and it makes it part of project management. So, you know, let's say Jim and I are kind of doing the courting dance, and I'm trying to get him to be a customer. He's going to be in my CRM as a hot prospect. And once he decides to do business, I can very easily take the data, the conversation, the information, project details, and integrate that directly into Basecamp and start building out a project around the services that we're going to provide for him. In the situation that we've got right now, let's say somebody out of Contactually decides to start doing business and we build that into the Asana network, for example, there may be some duplication effort as we migrate the details over into Asana because there's not a connection between Contactually and Asana. I'm sure that there's probably also some outreach and some email capabilities, but Contactually really isn't a project management platform. You're not going to be able to put a project in here and track its progress and use it to upload documents and resources and those sorts of things. It's very much a keep in touch from an automated awareness perspective. And it's super easy to use. I've used the Scale Mail a couple of times and gotten excellent results out of it because they look very personalized. They don't have the constant contact footer at the bottom that says that this is being sent from a third-party service. So it's a great way to keep in touch en masse, but you can customize it with different fields and variables and other sorts of things to, you know, really make it almost mimic what your existing email looks like. So the recipient really can't even tell the difference.
So I will tell you that Insightly, the other CRM that, it's actually my primary CRM, and we talked about it a little bit. Insightly does have a project management piece to it. We have used it just sort of on a beta basis, and it's fine for simple projects. One of the things I like about the project management feature within Insightly is that you can build templates. So if you're doing the same type project over and over, you've got a template to start from. I would not use it as a project management tool with our clients because with the type of projects that we do, it's almost like we're partnering with the client and become part of their project team. I just don't feel like Insightly is the right platform for that. Insightly we found to be very cost effective. Now I'm actually grandfathered in on some older pricing, so we're paying a little bit less than that. They've got a number of different plans now. Since we're talking about project management, Eric, I'm going to have you bring up, if you would, a site that we use with clients, a product that we use with clients, and it's called Smartsheet, smartsheet.com. I actually found this product through the Google Apps Marketplace. And basically, it's like an online spreadsheet service on steroids. You can do some really cool stuff with it. You can pretty easily build Gantt charts into your spreadsheets. You can set some bells and whistles up so that if things don't happen within a certain period of time, they're time and date driven. You can get notifications and those type things. You can add users to a spreadsheet without paying additional costs. The subscription for this product is actually based on the number of, I think it's based on the number of spreadsheets and the number of administrators you have. But we found this to be a very effective tool to partner with our clients on projects and work together on things. So this is another one, if project management and managing your projects and managing your time is part of your New Year's resolutions, I highly recommend looking at Smartsheet.
Very cool. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I've heard of that, and I think I don't know if you mentioned it before, and I checked it out. It looks familiar, but I never pulled the trigger on it, and probably ended up chasing a squirrel someplace, and before you know it got lost.
Well, we all have tools that we bond with, and we don't all bond with the same tools. So there's plenty of things that I start using, and it just doesn't work for me.
Yep. So cool. Well, good. One of the other, and I guess just kind of a diverge from the resolutions, but one of the things that I've been an avid proponent of, and I don't want to say this is a resolution because I'm already doing it. Maybe my resolution is to do more of it, but listening to podcasts and kind of trying to learn while I'm on the go. And last week I was in the car for close to 15 hours doing the down and back. So I had plenty of time to listen to podcasts and try to learn new things. And one of the podcasts that I've talked about before on the show is one from Leo Laporte. It's called This Week in Google from the Twit Network. So twit.tv is their website. They've got a boatload of awesome podcasts that you can subscribe to. You can watch live. They do audio only, audio and video, low res, high res. But in one of the recent This Week in Google shows, which despite its name isn't just about Google, it covers everything from the web and social and online and digital and Google. Somebody was talking about a little plugin for Gmail called Sorted, S-O-R-T-D. And what this does is it's essentially a smart layer that goes on top of your Gmail account. And again, Jeff and I are on the Google for Work. Many of you are probably using Gmail, maybe even using Google for Work within your organization. But it essentially lays a layer on top of your Gmail. You can turn it off very easily. It doesn't change anything. But you can build columns, and you can take your emails that show up here on the left-hand side, and you can move them over into different columns. And I started creating columns for things like customer support, project management, personal conferences. So as I'm getting hired to do different conferences around the country and I start communicating with the education directors and the coordinators, I can start building these columns. And if you've ever used the service Trello, which is very much a card-based project management system, it was one of the ones that we looked at. We ended up settling on Asana, but Trello is one that's pretty cool. It gives you an interface like that where you can take the information and it just makes it kind of easy to navigate and find stuff and keep things organized. So you can kind of get an idea on the cards. And so we're in the early stages. I think I've had it installed for less than 3 or 4 days. But from an organizational perspective, it gives you some pretty cool things that you can do. There's an interesting video that really walks you through it. But it's in beta now, and you sign up for it. If you send a tweet out, you probably have got a pretty good shot of getting it. And I will say I've got some invitations now that I've been accepted. So if for some reason you tweet out and sort of doesn't let you in, let me know. Drop me an email, and I'd be happy to give you one of my registration codes, and you can get in and give it a try. So and it works in conjunction, which I'm pretty excited about. It works in conjunction with my Boomerang service that I use for Gmail. And so the Boomerang service that I've got for Gmail, I can set reminders to make sure if I send Jeff an email and I don't hear back from him in 2 days, the email comes back. Or if he doesn't open it, it comes back. And so I can do a lot of really cool things with Boomerang. And when you compose a message within Sorted or respond to a message, your Boomerang plugin still continues to work, which is great. So that's sometimes the challenge is you start finding all these cool little plugins, but they all work as standalones and they don't play with each other very nicely. And that doesn't seem to be the case with Sorted. So so give it a try. Jeff, I suspect this is the first time you've ever heard of this, so I'd be curious if you kick the tires on it, what your feedback would be. But watch the video, check it out. If you're using Gmail, it could be a cool way to also help you get organized. Maybe a lighter version of a project management service.
Yeah, I'm going to try that one.
So, all right. So before I go to my next couple of items, let me ask you a question. This is going to sound very infomercial-ish, but have you ever wondered what files you have on your computer that are taking up the most space? Have you ever wondered if there's old giant videos or documents buried somewhere in a folder or directory that you've forgotten about that really don't need to be on your computer anymore. It might be slowing it down, hogging up space, that you could just go ahead and push up to the cloud and not have to be responsible for carrying around in your laptop. This is where you energetically look at me and go, why, yes, I've always wanted that, Eric.
I actually do want to do that on my MacBook Air.
And that's exactly the reason, and I'm kind of tongue-in-cheek joking, but that's exactly the reason why we did it, because when we made the decision to go to a MacBook Air for my wife, we're going from a 500 gig hard drive to a 128 gig hard drive. And so, you know, we've got much less space, but there's a lot of stuff that we've got that we're synchronizing through Dropbox and Google Drive. But since it's already in the cloud, does it make sense to synchronize all that back down to the computer with files and videos and photos? We know that it's there. We know we can get to it, but does it need to take up space on the MacBook Air or even on my MacBook Pro? I've got a terabyte, but still, do I really need all that information on my computer, or can I just leave it up in the cloud and then just get to it when I need it? So one of the cool little programs that I'll give a hat tip again to Mark. He's earning his paycheck this week. A couple little programs that you can use. One, we'll start with Disk Inventory X. It's Durline.com is the name of the company that does it. But this is the Mac version, and for those of you that are using PCs, if you go to Windorstat, which is for Windows, DIR for directory, and then stat for statistics. And you can see these screenshots look pretty similar. And so what each of these does is you download the program. It's a small little analytics tool that you install. You run it against your hard drive. And if you've ever done on a PC like a defrag where it looks at all the different sectors, probably going back to more of my DOS days when you could actually see it reorganizing and repositioning different sectors on your hard drive. But what this does is it goes in and it analyzes and it color codes all of your different files. So in the example that I've got up here, you can see within iPhoto, it's highlighted this gigantic green area. You know, these are all of the photos that you've got on your computer. These are system files. These are videos. And if you've got a bunch of files that are there that are hogging space, that are old, you know, we've got a lot of QuickBook backups. Each one of those is about 20 megs in size, and we've got backups for the last couple of years. We can archive those, stick them up on the cloud, put them in a directory that doesn't need to be synchronized, and now we're reclaiming space that doesn't need to be on the computer. These are a couple of really cool tools that my suspicion is most people on the show have never even heard of. And you can download them. I will caveat this: if you're working in an organization and you're on a network and it's being managed by an IT department, you want to double check before you go downloading any software, because we certainly don't want IT people sending us hate mail saying that we encourage their customers or their employees to download stuff. But the Windorstat or the Disk Inventory X are a couple of really great programs that you might want to get. And you can generate your own tree map, see where your files are at, and then if you've got Dropbox or Box.net or Google Drive or any of these web-based cloud storage, you can go ahead and just migrate that stuff to the web, get it off your computer, save your space so that what's there is really what needs to be there, and kind of get your hard drive a little bit better organized. So I'm a little bit of a digital pack rat, I will admit, and I have a boatload of stuff on my computer, and that's kind of why I like having a terabyte of space, but doesn't mean that everything has to stay there. So
I would say you're more than a little bit of a digital pack rat.
Well, you never know when you might need it. It's always good to kind of have that. So check these out.
I can't really talk either. I save a lot of things digitally.
Yeah. So and Mr. Perry just commented and said I could do infomercials. Thank you. Me and Ron Popeil, set it and forget it. We could take the show on the road. So yeah, so it'll be interesting. I've not run my computer. We've done this on my wife's existing laptop and identified several areas that we don't need to synchronize, which is going to help us make sure that she's got a nice, fast, lightweight computer, which I think she's really going to enjoy. But a lot of my friends, and you fall into that group, and I'm glad that you caveated that by saying you're one too, but a lot of my friends are the same way. They like to hang on to stuff. They run out of space. Now, if I could only figure out if this program works on Android, because I'm getting notifications on my Android phone that I'm starting to run out of space. So I think I may have some videos or something else that I've installed that I can probably get rid of. So enjoy analyzing your hard drives with either one of these tools, and help yourself get a little bit better organized on your computer.
I got a similar tool for my Google Drive, and it was fascinating, but it was designed by one of the techno geeks, and they had not introduced a version for those of us that enjoy technology but are not programmers.
So it was pretty much Greek text, huh? Couldn't read it.
It had all these trees of all of these things on Google Drive, and it was supposed to help me find things, and it was very interesting, but it failed the user-friendly / usability test.
Well, the cool thing about both of these programs is if you see an area that you are wondering what it is, there's a couple of different ways you interact with it. Is you can go through and you can navigate through your folder structure, and you can click on, you know, your My Programs directory, and you can see in this, it said, well, this is all that's in My Programs. Or what you can do is you can say, well, what's this big red box over here? What are all these files? What's this? And you can click on the red box, and you can go to the specific file. So you can either browse by directory, and it shows you what's included, or you can click on individual items, and then it takes you within the directory and says, well, that's what this is. That's a system file. You don't want to delete that. You can't delete that. Or here's a bunch of videos from 2005 that you synchronized. You probably don't need these anymore. So you can go ahead and not delete them, but push them off to the web and not have them on your local hard drive. So I expect you to have run one of these reports and have a full summary breakdown for me upon my arrival next week, Jeffrey.
You've got me playing with Sorted now.
There you go. So
I got accepted in Sorted immediately.
Oh, good. Good. So it looks like the codes really aren't something that's needed anymore. It might be rolling close to getting final launch. So yeah, so check that out. The last things that I wanted to talk about really kind of revolve around charity, and I like to tie charity and physical fitness together, because I think if you are training for an event or you're doing something to benefit somebody else, it motivates you to get out there and run or go for that bike ride or do an extra, few sit-ups that you maybe wouldn't otherwise do because you've got this obligation that you've imposed upon yourself to do something for somebody else. And so as I was flipping through Flipboard the other day, I came across an article that talked about some interesting ways to raise money for charities while you work out. And one of the apps that I'm now using on a regular basis is an app called Charity Miles. And what Charity Miles does is you go and you sign up for an account. When you go out for a bike ride or you go for a run or a walk, the Charity Miles folks have collaborated with a bunch of great worthy causes. I've done several events, training sessions, if you will, to benefit the Wounded Warrior Project, but you can browse all the different ones. And when you bicycle, you get 10 cents a mile. If you walk or run, you get 25 cents a mile. And the money that's donated to these charities is actually being sponsored by large organizations that Charity Miles presents an opportunity to do some direct advertising to people that are active and involved. So the two companies that I've been exposed to just through my workouts have been Johnson & Johnson and Chobani Yogurt. And my last bike ride actually got me a $1 coupon in email through Charity Miles from Chobani. He said, hey, we're proud to have supported you or sponsored you in your recent bike ride. I think I raised, $1.50 for Wounded Warrior Project. And it gave me a link that I could click to go to their website and download a $1 coupon for Chobani. My wife eats Chobani yogurt. It was something that we could use. And we'll probably buy more of it because I'm telling the story. I'm talking about Chobani. I'm talking about Johnson & Johnson and some of the other great companies out there that support it. It's just a really cool way that you just have to remember to turn it on. It tracks your distance traveled via GPS on your phone. And when you're done, you just click finish, record your miles, the dollar amount is calculated, and that's it. So there's no strings attached, there's no funky voodoo, or there's no catch. As I've seen it work, and Chobani got me to buy more yogurt, it's got a legitimate business model behind it. And so it's pretty cool. Ever heard of this before, Jeff?
I have not.
Yeah. So several years ago, I had a good friend of mine whose daughter was diagnosed with cancer and ended up passing after 4 years battling it. And so I started doing bicycle events and created an effort called Pedaling with a Purpose to help cyclists raise money for charities that they care about as part of their training and workout. And so this really kind of fits with my whole mantra that it's not going to take the place of Pedaling with a Purpose, but while I'm training for my Lumberjack 100-mile mountain bike ride this June, I'm going to be putting in a lot of miles, and if I can go in, and get 10 cents a mile every time I do that, that's going to be a couple $100 that I could raise for any one of these causes. You can switch it up. So, maybe I want to do Habitat for Humanity one day and Wounded Warrior the next, and then Stand Up Cancer the next. You don't have to pick the same one either. So it's pretty cool, and you're getting fit and you're doing good for others, and that's really what it's all about. The other thing that I do is I wear a Fitbit. I've had one on for several years now. I will also attest Fitbit is another company that very easily could have dropped the ball a number of times, because I have one of the older Fitbit Flexes that basically just sits on your wrist. It doesn't have numbers, heart rate monitors, and I've had my Fitbit Flex now die on me 3 times. And without question, every time I send them an email indicating I've had problems, I've tried restarting it, they, without any hesitancy, just ship me a brand new one. No questions asked. So I'm a big Fitbit fan, and, kind of opening up the doors here so you can kind of see weight-wise and steps and all that kinds of stuff. So my goal is to get into the 200 to 205 pound range. Got a little Christmas weight kind of hanging around there. We use one of the ARIA scales, and so now I'm trying to make sure I force myself to step on that puppy every morning to make me accountable. But Fitbit's pretty cool, and if you are a Fitbit user and would like to join my network and motivate each other, feel free to go ahead, send me an invitation, and we can send faces at each other and do all sorts of stuff. So enjoy that. And then I guess the last thing that I want to share is, not every time when I go work out do I have an hour or 2 hours to hop on a bike and go for a nice long bike ride, even though I'd love to do that. So as I was reading, I started reading more about this thing called Tabata training. And I don't have as much time to go into exactly how it works, but Google Tabata training and read about it, because as the screen here shows, 4 minutes and 10 seconds, and you can get an incredibly awesome workout. Now, you are doing very intense, super high intensity, like almost to the point of, your eyeballs are crossing, but that's the intent around it. And as you read more about it, it was kind of created, I believe it was a Japanese physical fitness doctor for some Olympic training over in Japan, and did some tests between people that were actually exercising for longer periods of time at moderate intensity, like what we normally do, and then took a group of individuals and just made them, you know, go bonkers at very short bursts for a very short period of time. And at the end of the study, the people that went through this very short but very intense actually came out of it with better anaerobic capacity, better stamina, more strength, and you're done in less than 5 minutes. I use this free app called Tabata Timer, and essentially you have 10 seconds to warm up. You go as nuts as you can, whether it's squats, lunges, thrusts, push-ups, whatever. Just pick an exercise that you can just max yourself out at, and you do that for 20 seconds, and then you get a 10-second rest, and then you do it again. You do that 8 times, and then you're done. That's your 4 minutes and 10 seconds, and that's it. Everybody's got 5 minutes. So get up in the morning. There's a little calendar that keeps track of how many times you've actually done it. So it's pretty cool. So that's one of my things is, you know, just making sure that I spend, you know, 5 or 10 minutes. If I'm not going to go for a big bike ride or a long run, just do this to get the blood flowing, to get my heart pumping, to get me breathing hard. And but read about Tabata, Google it. I think there's a Wikipedia page about it. Active.com has got a pretty cool article about it. But check it out and see what you think. And you can work 5 minutes into your day to make yourself a healthier individual in 2016. So Jeffrey, that concludes my stuff. So
how is it that you and I always seem to effortlessly fill up an hour?
Oh, well, I would say both of us like to talk, but I think if you go back and you look, that probably I get to do a little bit more of the talking than you do. But you're a good listener, and you contribute with very good stuff.
So there is a comment from Daniel that I think you want to look at, and my friend Jim said, "Happy New Year." Thanks, Jim, and same to you.
Cool. Yeah, Daniel he is starting Tabata training himself, so very cool. There's another workout that I read about. Johnson & Johnson did a 7-minute workout. Of course, you know, that's 3 whole minutes longer than a Tabata, so I don't know if I've got 7 minutes. I think I like Tabata better at 4. But the concept of short, intense workouts, sure, it hurts really bad when you're in the middle of it, but the fact that you're basically done in 5 minutes and can go back to whatever else it is that you were doing before you started doing it, in long term, I think there's some real benefits there. So welcome to the Tabata Club, Daniel. Good to have you here. So cool. Shin Otaki has a program for Tabata. So I don't know, Shin, O-H-T-A-K-E. So yeah. So anyway, Google it. You'll learn all about it. And you know, sign up for charity miles if you go for a walk. And tell other people about it. You know, we've got a cycling team here in Michigan, and I made sure that every single one of my friends on the cycling team knew about it. And you can sign up for teams. So when you subscribe and you get an account, if you want, you can actually join a team. We have 2 teams out there. There's a team for WSI cycling, and there's also a team for pedaling with a purpose. So if you'd like to be part of that team and help contribute, doesn't really do anything other than just associates us with one another. But I think I'm up to maybe $3 or $4. It's not huge, but I've only been using it a couple weeks. But you know, spread the word. If you know people that like to go for walks or bike rides, just got to remember to turn it on, and these other companies are willing to pay. So you'll do some good for other people that need it. Well, Jeffrey, with any luck, I'll be seeing you next week. We'll have our regular show on Wednesday, but we'll touch base and let you know when we're getting close to your neighborhood, and hopefully we can swing by for a little face-to-face visit, get the doggies together, and who knows, maybe we'll go for a little frigid dip in the lake behind your house. We'll see. Not gonna make any promises on that though. So cool. Well, thanks for everybody for joining us on the first show of 2016. We'll look forward to seeing you next Wednesday and every Wednesday right back here at freewebinarwednesdays.com. Until then, have an awesome week, and we'll see you in another 7 days. Take care.